I've done a lot of lessons on focusing on cross picking and alternate picking and things like that with the right hand. So I thought for this stream, I would kind of talk a bit more about the left paw, okay? Doing nice vibratos, smooth bends with vibratos, hammer-ons, pull-offs, all that kind of stuff. So right off the bat, let's just get into vibratos, okay? So you have subtle vibratos which sound very cool. And you know, you're just kind of rocking the wrist. I think there's a classic video somewhere of Clapton talking about that, about rocking the wrist. And I definitely find that to be true, especially for those nice, smooth, round vibratos. A slight rocking of the wrist to pull the strings slightly sharp and slightly flat. And that's in itself is something worth mentioning, because when we do a vibrato on the guitar, we're really only pulling the note sharp and then back to its pitch. But with a slide, of course, you can go below it and above it, and you get that nice vocal quality. And you can do the same thing with the whammy bar. You just hold the string. Got a nice touch with the whammy bar, you can get a very similar type vibrato. So on guitar, we want to watch our natural vibratos, let's just call them that, very carefully, because you don't want to bend too far and make it sound kind of messy. I mean, if you want that effect, that's one thing, right? But you also want to be able to do quick vibratos without being too exaggerated. When you want that sound. So you're just cranking your wrist and pulling harder and harder. But it's nice to develop a really sweet vibrato sound. Now, when it comes to bends, that's just a whole study in and of itself, because you want your pitch to be as good as possible, of course, and you want to have a nice, solid technique with bends using whole steps and half steps. You know what I mean? So there were some whole step bends, and most of them were whole step bends, and that half step bend right there. And that's a cool thing to practice. You can just run a scale like an A minor scale on one string and get into those bends where the half steps are and where the whole steps are. So you can see I did some pulls in both directions, pulling down toward my feet and pulling up, but understanding where those half steps and those whole steps are, because if you can get that really solid, things can sound pretty cool. And it's just knowing the scale, right? Just knowing the scale and where those half steps and whole steps are, as I say. Then there are those times when you want to incorporate vibrato into your bends. And that can be really tricky, but it's such a great sound, right? So you might bend a note and you want to give it a little quiver or a little shake or just whatever kind of vibrato you choose to use. And that can be really tricky because you want to maintain the pitch of the string and apply a little rocking of the wrist to it as well. And that can be really tasty with those half step and whole step bends. Maybe not doing a vibrato every time, but once in a while. Kind of a exaggerated example, but you get the idea. It can be a lot of fun. Vibrato in combination with bends can be a really cool, tricky thing to nail. So now slides can be really cool as well, especially in combination with bends, vibratos. You know, you just start bringing all these techniques together. So using that same A minor scale, so you just kind of get a combination of all of that going, and you get some really cool phrases going that way. And that's something I want to talk about. To be able to tap your foot and play a multitude of phrases, you know, you've got this. Being able to play against the time like that, to keep your foot tapping with that quarter note in your head and play a wild array of phrases, triplets, quarter note triplets, eighth note triplets, 16th note passages, eighth note, half note, you know, just a variety of stuff is a really cool practice. So that's a great thing to do, is just get a metronome clicking away, get your foot going with it, and again, play a multitude of phrases. It's a really great practice, and it can really enhance your solos. You know, it brings a lot of, well, wonderful phrasing to your playing. So when it comes to hammer-ons and pull-offs, I kind of take the same approach as I do with slides and bends. You want them to be as smooth as possible, unless, of course, you're intentionally looking for something different, in which case you can go for that, of course. But one thing I've always told my students a lot of times when they practice hammer-ons and pull-offs is they're not real even. So if you play a phrase like I've been playing a couple of times here, you want that to be even, unless you don't want it to be even, if you know what I mean. If you're intentionally going for something else, then you can always do that. So the notes sound really nice and round. So if you were to traverse the fretboard, you'd want that nice, even sound. You know, and what I'm getting at is you don't want it to sound like where one is maybe faster than the other. You want them to be nice and even. And again, a metronome can really help with that a lot. And of course, developing good, you know, with all your fingers. You can see I'm using the pick minimally. It's a good thing to practice. that wasn't very good. It's a good thing to practice and keep your hammer-ons and your pull-offs nice and even. And again, I can't stress enough how much a metronome can help with that, because you can really hear if the phrasing is kind of jagged and broken up. So along with that, I'd like to take this opportunity to thank everyone who has subscribed to the channel, who supports the channel, all the wonderful comments that you guys leave. It's just great. I really enjoyed doing it, and I plan to keep on doing it for a while, okay? So we'll see everybody real soon. Take care.